Yeah.
You want to like him, but you can't.
Are you listening?
What?
Are you listening?
Did you bring me on this show to insult me?
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Hey, y'all don't want it with us, man. You straight gangsters over here.
Straight
man.
gangster.
Ah.
Yeah, good morning and welcome back to this beautiful Monday morning. You are listening to Scout Team Sports. I am one of your gracious hosts. They call me Loudbeard.
You are the most egotistical, self-deluded person I have ever met.
Yes, and all of that is true. And the man on the other microphone, he is the greatest patriot I have ever known. He's more patriotic than the other great patriot, Tom Brady. And that would be...
Yeah, it's your boy Chris America coming to you live from 4 Degrees Central Florida, and we want to welcome all the new Barn Burner listeners up there in Toronto, Canada. Loudbeard, for one episode and one episode only, just to welcome our friends to the north, I will be known as Chris Canada. How are you today, Loudbeard?
I am doing great. Welcome aboard, Chris Canada. It's good to be back on the radio with you, sir. You know, we had an amazing weekend in sports, but like you said, we are now in Canada, so we're going to have an amazing weekend on the microphones this week and every week moving forward because our good friends at Barn Burner Network, they have brought us on, and they're going to play us on their network, and we're excited to be able to access a new market, a new demographic, and our friends in Canada, the friendliest people I have ever met in my entire life have all been from Canada. And I'm excited to be a part of the Canadian family. And welcome aboard, Chris Canada. It's good that you've jumped on board, too.
Yes, I am on board. I've even switched all of my weather apps to Celsius. Loudbeard, did you know right now we are such in the Canadian spirit here in Central Florida, here in Orlando, that it is 4 degrees Celsius outside. That is 4 degrees above freezing. That's pretty cold, Loudbeard.
Yeah, it's a little chilly out there, you know. Probably not as chilly as it is where our friends of the north are sitting, but
we're pretty much
here,
anywhere other than here, but we're still cold. We're 4 degrees above freezing level.
It's really cold for me, to be honest with you. I'm having trouble taking all of this 4 degrees Celsius weather in. It's very difficult to know the freezing, rigid cold that we're having to deal with here in Central Florida.
Yes, it is crazy, but we will move on. We will march on. We will find the strength. Like the Canadians do. We love you, Canada, and we welcome you to our show. Hopefully, you will enjoy us. Just to give a little quick overview as to who Loudbeard and I are and who Scout Team is, there is one other host who kind of come and goes. He might pop in, he might not tonight or today. He might pop in tomorrow, he might not tomorrow. You never know when the Golden Ghost, the man with the golden mic, he has many names. You will learn them all as we go along, but his real name is Anthony Mack. So far, he's a no-show, but he could pop in at like 6:35. You never know. So with that said, I'm Chris America. Today I will be Chris Canada, born and raised here in Orlando, Florida. I am a Florida Gator fan, a Carolina Panthers fan, a Tampa Bay Lightning advocate, I would say. I can't call myself a fan yet, Loudbeard, because I don't watch much hockey. But because now that we're in Canada, I've decided to watch hockey, and I now know what a 5-hole is. Loudbeard, do you know what a 5-hole is?
I do not.
A 5-hole, sir, is when you shoot the hockey puck in between the goalie's legs.
Oh, wow. Okay,
so
that's
now,
good to know. Look,
so now we both know what a 5-hole is. So now when you're watching hockey, you will say, that was a 5-hole before the announcer says it.
Oh, okay. See,
But
you've
yeah, go
been
ahead.
doing your research. This is now I feel like I'm being left in the dust here. You're our hockey insider here on Scout Team Sports, so you're doing a good
Loudbeard,
job.
I think we're gonna have to do it ourselves. So it's not that we don't like hockey. It's just down here in Orlando, Florida, it's hard to get into the hockey spirit when nobody else is. But Loudbeard and I, now that we're in Canada, we're going to do our best to learn how to watch hockey, somewhat analyze what we're seeing, and then talk about it here from time to time so we can appease our new Canadian listeners. And I hope you guys stay patient with us. Hopefully you find it a little bit comical. Hopefully we get a little bit of a chuckle that neither one of us before this weekend knew what a 5-hole was.
Well, we're just not going to just appease these Canadians. We're going to entertain everybody. We're here to entertain the audience. We're here for our listeners. And to introduce myself, I am Loudbeard. I am the other co-host here on Scout Team Sports. Yes, there is an Anthony Mack, and yes, there is a Chris Canada, but this is Loudbeard that you're listening to right now. And I have been a lifelong Washington Redskins fan when you talk about American football. On the CFL side, you, Chris Canada, you have gotten me over to be a big Saskatchewan Roughriders fan, so I
Yes.
appreciate that.
Go Rough Riders.
We have trouble watching all of the games locally, but when we catch a game, I mean, we love the Rough Riders, so we're just going to keep that out there. I love my Orlando Magic. We're big NBA followers here on the show, supporters. We love the Magic. But, you know, the Toronto Raptors, they're also a fun team. I've been liking the Raptors here for a long time, keeping this Canadian as much as we can.
We've been a big
And-
supporter of that Kawhi trade, and we hope, as much as any Canadian does, that Kawhi Leonard stays in Toronto.
I just hope that Kawhi Leonard can somehow beat the Warriors, or anybody in the NBA can beat the Warriors, because that's what it's like. I mean, the Warriors are kind of like the Patriots. All of America, except for the diehards, really want them to win, want them to lose. So we're going all in on the Raptors or any other team that is good enough to beat the Warriors, and maybe this year is the year for the Raptors. That would be a lot of fun getting into the stretch. And just other sports out there, I'm a big Rays fan, again, being in Central Florida. We don't have a lot of selection with baseball teams, so I got to go Tampa Bay Rays. And on my hockey side, big Washington Capitals fan. And you know what? We're at the pinnacle of that Washington Capitals fandom after last year's Stanley Cup. So lots to talk about in that realm, Chris America. But that's all about me, Loudbeard. Why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about the show and how we got started and kind of the roots of what Scout Team Sports is?
Yes, so we're, what are we now, like a year and a half it has to be, right? So we started in July of 2017. So if my math serves me correctly and I carry the one, we are an 18-month-old radio show, and we've just grown
Good
from
math skills. That's correct.
Yes. We've just grown from basically three guys who were just shooting the breeze and said, hey, we love talking sports. Why don't we do a podcast? And we've just, so far, we've just kept on keeping on, and we've turned that into a live radio show every Wednesday night on 12 Ounce Sports Radio. And then in August of last year, August 27th, I believe, is our morning show birthday. We decided to go daily from 6 a.m. to 7 a.m. And then now we're going to replay all of our shows on Barn Burner at 6 p.m. every single weekday. So you're getting us in the afternoon. And we're just on this magical ride of just continuously seeing growth and just expanding our platform, expanding our internationality, if that's a word I can use there. Loudbeard, is that?
I count it. It's in Loudbeard's dictionary.
It's in the 5-hole. So yeah, so we basically
That's what she
are just,
said.
Yes. We're basically three friends who really love talking sports. We thought we were egotistical enough to think we were entertaining to talk sports on the radio, and we've just parlayed it one opportunity after another, and we can't be more excited to be on Barn Burner.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity. And I also want to give some credit out there to 12 Ounce Sports. This is the radio station we're on here in the States. Well, we're also international with 12 Ounce Sports Radio, but 12 Ounce Sports Radio took us from just being a recorded podcast to getting us live on the air. And being on this radio station at 12ouncesportsradio.com, or if you download the TuneIn app, you can tune in to 12 Ounce Sports Radio. This has been a fun ride, and we're seeing progression. We're seeing growth. And, independent radio, it's different. It's a different animal because a lot of times we tune into the ESPNs or the ESPN talk radios or that local talk radio, and that's a different feel than what we got here on the internet. And we're trying to make this a big deal, and podcasts are becoming so popular out there in the world. We're just trying to get our piece, and by saying that, we're just here to entertain you. We're just here to let the listeners know that we just want to have fun, be entertaining. We're fans, and we're for the fans. We're here to make sure that everybody gets a little bit of what they want, and if they don't like our opinions, at least they can respect them, and if they don't respect them, they can at least listen and be entertained by our craziness. And all of that leads us to what, Chris America? Does that lead us to start talking about sports? Is that where we're going now?
Well, I do have one more thing I need to say to the Canadian friends is one of the major reasons why I got excited about this opportunity is with the political climate in America, you never know when you're going to have to actually follow through on your threat of moving to Canada. So when that happens for me, I want to know that I have some friends up north that I can come crash on their couch for a little while I get situated in my new Canadian citizenship.
Oh, you draft dodger.
Anyways, but talking about dodging drafts, the refs dodged a pass interference call yesterday, Loudbeard. Is that a good enough segue into sports?
That is a perfect segue into sports, and we will start out with that Saints-Rams game. We're going to talk pretty heavy NFL because this Sunday of football was superb.
It was the second biggest Sunday of the season.
It is. We couldn't have asked for better games. There was no blowouts. They were both extremely competitive throughout the game. Yeah, there was a couple runs at the beginning, but the other teams come back. So this was an amazing weekend in sports. And we look at the Saints-Rams game, the one thing that everybody is talking about at the end of this game, something that we believe cost the Saints this game, is that missed pass interference call. And if you did not watch this was a very easy call to make. It was very blatant. And, the broadcasters, Troy Aikman and Joe Buck, who I'm not a big fan of, but they were right. This was something that the refs missed. And America and Canada, when they were watching this, they were sitting there in their chairs in disbelief that this non-pass interference call was loud. And I don't know, Chris America, this changed the outcome of the game, but the Saints had a chance in overtime. In overtime, it now becomes even, but we still need to talk about this call. What were your thoughts when you saw this pass interference call or non-call?
I'm sitting here watching the game, and I saw the call, and we're like, wow, that guy got there early. He's going to get flagged. And then you're just waiting, and you're waiting. And Saints fans are still waiting for that flag to be thrown. And guess what, Loudbeard? It's never going to be thrown. I wish the replays would have shown the referees, like, what were they doing? Like, were you just not looking at the play? Were you out of position? How do you miss that blatant of a pass interference call? And it's an embarrassment to the NFL, and that's been a lot made of this year. I don't know what's been going on with the NFL referees, but it's kind of had a feel to where it was the same season of the replacement referees where we were complaining about it. They've just been, I wouldn't say they were as bad as the replacement referees just yet, but they were pretty close, and you don't need to be pretty close to that. That's a very low bar that you want to be close to. All
right, so I'm going to have to be an advocate for the NFL referees here because nobody else is right now. Everybody else is hating on them. They've had a bad go about it, and for good reason. But their job is very difficult. They have to figure out these plays. A lot of times these plays in real life are bang, and it's difficult to make a decision right there on the spot. So I have to give them a little bit of leeway when it goes for that. And then all of the good referees, they get poached by all these sports networks, Fox and ESPN and NBC. They bring them onto their payroll just so they can be a rules analyst during the show. Gene Scarator's sitting up there, and he's looking at this, and you're like, well, why isn't that guy down on the field. He's been down on the field for years. A veteran referee that could be out there, a veteran official that could be out there making the right call is up in the booth with Joe Buck and Troy Aikman. Are you kidding me? Like, why are these networks poaching these guys? And now he may have retired on his own and wanted to go to the network, but I think that when you have networks taking all the good talent and then you have bang plays on the field, that occasionally you're going to have a missed call. Now, this may be opening up Pandora's box, but Chris America, do you think that on something like pass interference that there should be some sort of review? Is that asking for too much? Is that creating too many reviews? Is that creating too many problems?
I think, yes, you can have review on pass interference. I really do. And if you don't want to do it for every single game, at least make it for the playoffs so we can get it right. We can make sure that it's done. So I don't have to sit here and hear Saints fans tell me how it would have gone down and that it wasn't Drew Brees' fault that they lost that game. And we'll get into that a little bit more. But, yeah, I don't mind. Obviously, you don't want review on every single penalty, but there's not pass interference on every single call. I don't know, man, because then you get into those judgment pass interference. So this was blatant pass interference. There's no arguing that this was not pass interference. There's no question about it. But there's a lot of bang pass interference calls where the ref is going to miss it in, real time. But then if you slow it down to every nanosecond, then you're like, okay, that was pass interference. And some of those plays, I'm like, no, just let's move on. Let's go. The referee missed it. It was missed. He got there a nanosecond too early. Let's not, comb through, fine-tooth and comb these calls. So I guess I don't know, Loudbeard. I don't know how I feel about it because sometimes the human element makes sports. It's kind of what makes it great, and it's kind of what makes you want to pull your hair out for it.
Now, what if we added the review just on the final, like on the 2-minute warning of each half, where these are important times during the game, especially the last 2 minutes of the game, where they do an automatic review on all scoring and all that. They should do the same thing on pass interference penalties, or maybe even non-penalties. Maybe there's some sort of booth review where they can call it down and say, okay, we're going to review this one just to make sure that we got it right. That might be something the NFL wants to go to. Again, I don't want to open Pandora's box. I don't want the game to slow down. I don't want everything to be judged by stopping the game and going back to New York and reviewing each of these calls individually and dissecting them. That's not what the game is meant to be. Sometimes you just got to roll with it. But this one was a crucial one that hurt the Saints and possibly changed the outcome of this game. And so if I was a Saints fan, I'd be completely outraged. I would be. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be. I think they would be 100% outraged. But unfortunately, that's how the game went. And it's not just one call. It's a 60-minute game. There's more to it than what one penalty would change.
Well, and it's not the only missed call that game. The drive prior to, there was a play on the 5 or 6 yard line. I don't know where the Rams started with the ball, but they snapped it. Goff ran around outside the pocket, couldn't find anybody, and he ran towards the end zone, and he got a face mask on him. Somebody grabbed his face mask down at the 3 yard line, and they made the tackle. He fell forward, and I don't remember if that was second down or third down. All I know is that it wasn't called. They didn't get first and goal on the 2 yard line or the 1.5 yard line, however they would have done the half the distance for it. And they didn't get the opportunity to get their penalty assessed to them and have their fair shot at 3 plays to score a touchdown. And that would have changed the entire complexity of the game and the outlook of the game. But nobody's talking about that because that wasn't the last play. But you know what? Neither was that pass interference call. And it's not like the ball was taken out of Drew Brees' hands the rest of the day and he never got a chance to win the game. The Saints had multiple chances to win that game. They kicked a field goal and went up. Then they had to kick the ball down the field, and their defense had an opportunity to stop the Rams from moving the ball into field goal range. They didn't do that. Then they win the coin toss, and they got the ball first. Now, in the NFL, you can go down and score a touchdown, and that's it. That's game over. You can say goodnight to the Rams. You can say goodnight to the bad call, and you get to go play for the Super Bowl. But guess what? Drew Brees had his opportunity. He got hit on a throw that maybe he shouldn't have made, and he threw an interception. And then Jared Goff went and drove the ball back down into field goal range, kicked the field goal, and the Rams are going to the Super Bowl. So on 2 separate drives, Goff had a missed penalty on him that should have resulted in a 1st and goal that could have led to a touchdown that would have changed the entire game completely as well. And Drew Brees got a penalty missed on him that would have given him 1st down and changed the entire complexity of the game. One of those guys didn't lead his team to a Super Bowl win, and the other guy did. And that's how I see it. Sometimes life sucks, Loudbeard, and things happen to you. You got to pick up your bootstraps, and you just got to move on. And the Saints didn't do that.
Yeah, and you're right. There has to be a little bit of onus on Drew Brees, and there has to be a little bit of onus on all of the rest of this team, right? Like, you've got the defense, some offensive plays. Yeah, I mean, there was definitely some opportunity there for the Saints, and the Saints didn't capitalize. They did not come through with what they needed. And you're right, they get the ball. I look at overtime as, okay, the game's starting over and everybody's getting a chance here. And the Saints won that coin flip. And we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the show when we go over this second game, but winning that coin flip is a big advantage for that team. And when you're a team that is known as being one of the most powerful offenses in all of the NFL, B, you have a future Hall of Famer who is a clutch quarterback in the NFL, and C, you have a coach that is a great coach and a great offensive mind. With those 3 things in mind, you should be able to get that coin flip and figure out a way to get down the field and score. And what happened was, like you had mentioned, is Drew Brees gets his arm kind of knocked while he was throwing the ball. The ball flies up errantly, and the Saints receiver could have made a play on that. The ball was up in there for a while. The Rams player, he's on his back on the ground catching the ball. It was kind of an unusual play, but the Rams weren't getting the ball in their side of the field. They had to drive the ball down. The Rams had to earn that victory, and whether or not you say the refs gave them that win, I would have to disagree with that, because what the Rams did was amazing. They came back in regular season, in the regular time, and then in overtime, they kept battling. They made their plays at the right time. And I think I said it on Friday's show, and I know I said it on Friday's show, that we would need the defense to come up with a big play. And the Rams defense came up with a big play at the right time, and that's why the Rams won that game. And it wasn't Drew Brees winning it. It was really Drew Brees not coming through with what he needed to do, and the Rams defense making a huge play at the right time. And that Rams defense, I do want to add, Chris America, they stepped up, especially in that second half. They stepped up. They brought enough pressure, and you know what? They did well enough to win. And the offense wasn't lighting the world on fire. Neither of these offenses were lighting the world on fire. This was a lower scoring game than you and I had predicted, but we both predicted the Rams to win this, so we give ourselves kudos for that.
Yes.
But these defenses, both of these defenses played really well, and I was surprised about how well the defenses played and how slow and sluggish the offenses got off to. But in the end, what mattered was the Rams defense made the right play at the right time, and Jared Goff, the younger, the less veteran, the less mature,
experienced, the guy that has 2 total playoff games prior to this.
Yeah, he was clutch, and he was clutch at the right time, and the less experienced coach, he made all the right decisions at the right time. So this was the Rams game right here, and they deserved that win, and I know that blemish of that one referee call is going to be talked about a lot, like we've talked about it, but I have to give 100% credit to this Rams team. Now, Chris America, I'm going to switch gears just a little bit on this Rams game and talk a little bit about Todd Gurley.
Yeah.
You had texted me like, "What? Wait a second, did I miss an injury? Did I get up and go to the bathroom and come back and Todd Gurley get carted off?" And the answer is no. This was a weird game because Todd Gurley the guy that is so dynamic, one of the biggest weapons in all of the NFL, he wasn't getting the majority of the carries. He wasn't in there for a lot of the plays. They saw that C.J. Anderson was hot. The C.J. Anderson was what the Saints were not expecting. I think the Saints had game planned and were ready for Todd Gurley, and they threw him a curveball and went heavy C.J. Anderson, and it worked because in that first half, Todd Gurley couldn't get any yards, but once they switched over to C.J. Anderson, the running game finally started opening up.
Yeah, and that's kind of going to go to my point about I'll piggyback off of that, and I don't mean to go back and harp on it, but it was such a big play and such a big topic that Loudbeard, Todd Gurley not having a good game is one of a million things that can happen to you as a team that are out of your control that can cause you to lose a game. Your running back not having a good game. Your running back fumbling the football at the wrong moment. Your quarterback missing his assignment and overthrowing and throwing an interception. Refs missing calls. Blown timeouts. In the Patriots-Chiefs game, you had a guy lined up in the neutral zone on an important interception that could have sealed it for them. Bad things happen during games, and what you have to do to be a champion is you have to see, okay, that bad thing happened. What's the situation now? What do we need to do now to overcome that bad thing that happened to us that's out of our control? And you mentioned that they went with C.J. Anderson, who was on my Carolina Panthers for about the majority of the season, and he did nothing for the Carolina Panthers. I remember when we signed him, I messaged a Denver Broncos fan of mine, like, hey, what are we getting? And he said, you don't never know with C.J. Anderson. Sometimes he's great, and sometimes he just disappears. Well, the Panthers got the disappear guy, or so I thought, but now it really looks like the Panthers just need an offensive line. But I digress. He's gone over to the Raiders. I think he was on the Raiders for like 6 days, and then they cut him. And now he found himself on the L.A. Rams, and he has lit it up in these playoffs. He's the MVP for the playoffs. If he has another monster game at the Super Bowl, just give him the Super Bowl MVP. It's one of the most awesome stories. It's kind of like a Nick Foles run, if you will. But that's what Sean McVay did. He had the bad thing out of his control happen to him. His Hall of Fame, or not Hall of Famer, but his Pro Bowl running back, one of the top running backs in all of the league, if not the top running back in the league, disappeared on him. So what did he do? He made adjustments and he put another guy in. He didn't throw up his hands and everything else, and he made the adjustment. And that is honestly why the Rams are going to the Super Bowl. Not because of one blown call, but because a series of good decisions that they made that kept them in the game. Would the Saints have won? They could have. It's easy to think that they would have wound the clock down, kicked the easy field goal, and they would be heading to the Super Bowl. Or they could have fumbled the snap on one of the handoff plays. They could have mistimed, the handoff themselves. They could have dropped the snap for the field goal. They could have held the ball wrong. They could have, there's millions of different things that could have happened, Loudbeard, that we've seen. How many easy missed field goals have you seen in your life?
Oh, tons. Especially
tons.
Now in the NFL, missed field goals and missed extra points all the time.
And yeah, this kicker is great. He's like 98% on the year, but how many times have you listened to an announcer go, this guy is 100% on this field goal range, and then you're like, the announcer just jinxed the kicker and he misses it.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was going to happen a couple times yesterday. They do. They jinx those kickers, and these kicks aren't automatic. And that takes us to, I again, got to give credit where credit is due. The Rams kicker, Greg Zuerlein, what do they call him, Legatron, the guy could kick a million miles. And kicking in a dome is definitely the ideal opportunity for a kicker. But when you have a 51-yarder and the game is on the line, that's tough. That is tough. And that guy nailed it right down the middle. I mean, we saw some good kicking play this weekend. That was the one highlight, is there wasn't a kicker that missed there wasn't a double doink. There wasn't any pressure. These kickers on all of these teams all played phenomenal games.
Yeah, they did. And that's one of the reasons why you can say that the Saints would have made that field goal. But I can easily say that the Saints would have found a way to block that kick, pick up the block, and return it for a touchdown. And you know what, Loudbeard? We're both equally right in saying those things because both of those things are possibly to happen.
Oh, man. Well, you know what, Chris America? We went all the way
All
through the
Saints.
first 30 minutes of our show, and we talked all Saints and Rams. But there
Well, we
was
talked a little Canada.
We talked a little Canada, but there was an even better game on yesterday, wasn't there?
There was, and it was bittersweet, Loudbeard. I'll tell you why it was bittersweet on the other side of this break.
When I'm working hard, I build up a thirst for sports. That's when I grab a cold 12-ounce sports radio. "12-ounce sports radio. Quench your sports thirst."
Scout Team listeners and friends of the show, I've got something special for you. It looks like 12-Ounce Sports Radio has done it again. We have partnered with Rally House. You just go to the website, 12ozsportsradio.com. Click on the banner on the right side of the page, and it will take you directly to Rally House. Rally House has some of the greatest, most unique sports items for that diehard fan, casual fan, and anybody and everybody out there that is special in your life. So go ahead and check it out. Once again, go to that website, 12ozsportsradio.com. Click on the banner to the right of the page, and you will get taken to the best sports merchandise website on all of the interweb.
Ring Central features all-in-one phone, messaging, and video conferencing. It's easy to use with unparalleled security. Ring Central simplifies things so you can grow. Call Ring Central to speak with a representative about a price for your growing business at 877-779-3860. Again, that's 877-779-3860.
Hey everybody, it's your favorite Patriot, Chris America, and I want you to listen every single weekday, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., and on replays from 11 a.m. to noon of Scout Team Sports. Listen, George Washington did not cross over the ocean blue in 1492 to defeat the Nazis, so you can listen to the same tired national clickbait sports stories. So once again, tune in to us every single morning, 6 a.m. to 7 a.m., and then we replay from 11 to noon. I will see you there, and God bless America.
Well, I want to thank all of our listeners for listening in to us. Once again, we are Scout Team Sports, bringing it to you hot and live each and every weekday, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m., and again at 11 a.m., live on 12-Ounce Sports Radio. Now, also, we will be live or recorded podcast style on the Barn Burner Network. Excited about being on the Barn Burner Network also. I do also want to mention that if you cannot catch the show live, you can also download our podcast. Make sure you check it out. It's available on Apple Podcasts. It's available on Spotify Podcasts. You can search Scout Team Radio or Scout Team Sports. It'll pop right up. Or check out our website, scoutteamradio.com. All the old shows are all on the website. Additionally, we like to get social. If you want to hit up the show, if you want us to read your tweets on the air, if you want to just comment on some of the shenanigans we're talking about throughout the morning, go ahead and do so on Twitter at Scout Team Radio. You can also hit up our Facebook page or Instagram page at Scout Team Radio. Well, Chris America, it's been a beautiful weekend in sports, and we waited. We saved the best for last, and yesterday evening, I was glued to the television for for the entirety of that New England Patriots and Kansas City Chiefs game. This game was everything I thought it would be and more. The only challenge that I had is afterwards I felt empty inside. I felt like it was an M. Night Shyamalan movie where the twist at the end was disappointing. I felt like there was just something not right that happened at the end. And Chris America, I know that you're probably sad right now, and you're probably in mourning because you are the number one fan of Patrick Mahomes. You're the captain, the champion, the president of the fan club. So, Chris America, I hand it over to you, and I have a heavy heart, but I just have to say, tell me how you're feeling right now after this New England Patriots and Kansas City Chiefs game that happened last night.
You know, like I said before, it's bittersweet. Patrick Mahomes, while everybody's talking about this last play of the New Orleans Saints game and how that affected everything, and now in this game, I'll touch on it a little bit. There was an offsides or a lined up in the neutral zone play at the end of the game where the Chiefs picked it off and it got waved away because of that penalty. You know what? I say this to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs and everything else. You can talk about that last play, but you guys had so many missed plays in the first half that it's on you that you lost the game. And it happens. I get it. You can't win them all, and you can't play lights out an entire game. And you guys came back in the second half. You made the adjustments you needed to make, and you made a game of it. But when I sit there and I look at the final score and I see 14-0 at halftime, you sit there and you think, man, we lost by a field goal. We lost in overtime. If we would have even just made it 14-3 or 14-7, it would have changed the whole entire outlook of that game. And we might be winners right now. But we didn't score any points in the first half. And football is a 60-minute game. And sometimes that means you have to play that first 15 minutes just as much as you have to play that second 15 minutes of football. 30 minutes of football. With that said, though, man, what a heck of a performance by both teams last night, Loudbeard, and both quarterbacks. We watched probably the next GOAT, the baby GOAT is what I've been calling him. Future Hall of Famer. Yes, I've said it many times on this show. Patrick Mahomes is a future Hall of Famer. I called his MVP week 1, and it looks like that's probably going to happen. But he went toe-to-toe with the greatest of all time. And I don't care what anybody says about Tom Brady and his Inflategate or his Deflategate and the Spygate and this gate. And you know, last night it was the same Twitter after the Patriots win a game. Oh, look at these blown calls, and Patriots always get their way, and the NFL is paying the Patriots, and blah, 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 blah. The reality is the Patriots are in there because Tom Brady made so many throws when he needed to make them, especially in overtime. The Chiefs had them on the ropes, 3rd and long, 3 different times, and on 3 different occasions, he found a receiver over the middle, twice to Edelman, once to Gronk, got those big converted first downs. I don't know what, Andy Reid, man, I love you, brother, but you in these timeouts, you in this clock, the Patriots were charging down the field. The Chiefs were on the ropes. They could do nothing to stop the Patriots, and Andy Reid decided to take 3 timeouts with him into offseason. I don't know why he didn't call timeout, especially once they gashed him with the big run down inside the 5. You got to call timeout there and regroup, get your players some rest, let them catch their breath, tell them what they're going to do, and he just held on to him. So I don't know what he's going to do with those timeouts in the offseason, Loudbeard, but I'm guessing he's got more important things to do with them.
Well, I think maybe the thought process there is you don't want to give Bill Belichick and Tom Brady more time to decide to come up with a play to gash you. You're thinking, let my guys roll. But with that being said, it's hard to defend Andy Reid in that situation. Andy Reid has been known for this, a little bit of mismanagement with the clock over the years, timeout mismanagement, and it came back to bite him again. You had 3 timeouts in overtime. You're right, 100% right. I mean, how many times can Julian Edelman go over the middle and get a 15-yard pass on 3rd down? I mean, how many long 3rd downs do you have? Like, call a timeout and let your guys take a deep breath and have them sit there and think about it and just give them a moment, give them a second, and maybe they'll make a play for you. And we look back, and it's easy to criticize after the fact, but it's just hard for as a fan. And there's a reason why we call him regular season Andy, because he's so good in the regular season. He's always got so much talent on his teams, and he does it right, and he's a good offensive mind, and all of that is true. But come on, man. You got to give your defense a little bit of help on this. And that's one thing he didn't do. He didn't make that timeout, and he didn't give them help. And Tom Brady did what Tom Brady does, and that's win, and that's come back. And I mean, look at over the years. I mean, some of the greatest comebacks in the history of the NFL have been done by Tom Brady. We look back at the Super Bowl, 28-3 they were down, and Tom Brady brings that team back. Tom Brady wins games. He knows how to win. You have to do something different, and you have to give your team an opportunity. You can't just basically make it, okay, well, let Tom Brady do Tom Brady, and if we win, we win. If we lose, we lose. No, make a timeout. Call up some just different plays. Give them a different look. Do something different. Come on, Andy Reid. Come on. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I'm with you there, man. And listen, this is why I call Tom Brady the GOAT. When it comes to Tom Brady, there are so many haters, and for some good reasons. A lot of it is just they hate Tom Brady because he's a winner and he's not their quarterback. I would say that's the majority of why people hate Tom Brady. But that's the difference between why Tom Brady is the GOAT and Drew Brees is just one of the best of all time. That's the difference between why Tom Brady is the top quarterback of all time, the best champion of all time, and Drew Brees is just a top 5 quarterback, future first ballot Hall of Famer. Tom Brady has been in overtime 3 times now, and he's gotten the ball all 3 times, and he's driven his team for a touchdown to seal the game, to never leave any doubt, to put the other team away. And he's done that all 3 times. He's the only quarterback in NFL history to have 3 playoff wins in overtime. And he did it all by just driving the ball down the field and getting the touchdown and, taking advantage of the dumbest overtime rules in all of sports and making sure that the other team has no chance to go back and beat him. And that's the difference between Tom Brady and Drew Brees. That's the difference between Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers. That's the difference between Tom Brady and everybody else is he's on his 29th playoff win and his 9th AFC championship and his 9th Super Bowl appearance, going for his 6th Super Bowl championship. And the thing that I loved about Tom Brady last night, and it's those things that Tom Brady quietly does that everybody ignores because they hate Tom Brady. He went over to the Chiefs locker room and he said, "Hey man, let me talk to Patrick Mahomes." And he went and gave Mahomes some encouragement, told him, keep your head up, kid. And there was a lot of other things that we don't know what he said, but it's all positive, it's all good, it's all gravy. And that's the Tom Brady that I see, and that even though I'm not a Patriots fan, I love Tom Brady. He's he is the greatest quarterback of all time. I've said it before multiple times. He takes less money. He's a team player. He plays with a lot of passion. You can tell he loves the sport of football. He's a competitor, and he just wins. He finds ways to win, and people hate him for it.
Yeah, I can't argue with you a single bit on that one. Tom Brady, the reason I get what you're saying, because we're sitting here watching one of the greatest. No, I take that back. The greatest quarterback of all time in our era. He's sitting here. We're able to watch him. We can talk about greats of the past, guys like Johnny Unitas. Tom Brady is a head and shoulders above any quarterback that has ever played the game. He's doing it in a time where there are a lot of good competition. He survived the Peyton Manning era, where Peyton Manning was one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He's surviving the Drew Brees era. He's surviving all of these and still winning.
Aaron Rodgers era.
You could name all these great quarterbacks that he's going up against, but he stands head and shoulders above all of them because of the performance last night. That is one of the reasons why Tom Brady is the GOAT, because he can go in and win games. you know that no matter if there is 30 seconds left or 2 minutes left, if you're given the ball to Tom Brady, you have a chance to win. And the Patriots win that game last night on the shoulders of Tom Brady. But Chris America, you kind of alluded to this, and I want to bring this up for just a moment. The overtime rules, yes, they are ridiculous. And for me, just as a consumer, I'm not a Chiefs fan. I'm not a Patriots fan. I am a sports advocate. We do have a talk radio show, so I do like watching sports and having these conversations. But I felt like Patrick Mahomes needed a shot. You want to see both teams get an opportunity to put their offenses on the field. Yes, a lot of that falls on the Chiefs. A lot of it falls on the Chiefs' defense, and a lot of it falls on Andy Reid. But to me, the flip of a coin is such a crucial play in the overtime. If you win that flip of the coin, like the Saints did, like the Patriots did, you have an unfair advantage over your opponent because you have a chance to go all the way down and score a touchdown. I think, and this is just me throwing out a scenario for you, Chris America, and I want to see what your thoughts are, but I think that whether you score a field goal or a touchdown, the other team should get one opportunity, one drive to be able to come back and battle at you. I think they should get the ball. That you should still kick off. I don't think it should be single elimination once you score, sudden death once you score that touchdown. I think that the other team should get an opportunity to get the ball, and it would almost make it the coin flip itself a little bit more intriguing, because if you win the coin flip, you may defer to receive, because if the other team scores a touchdown, you could go down, score a touchdown, and then option for the 2-point conversion for the win or the extra point for the tie. So you would have a little bit more strategic advantage, and you would know that you would have all 4 downs on that drive because you're not going to settle for a field goal. You're not going to punt it. You know that you would have 4 downs that entire drive. So it would add a little more strategery to the overtime, but I felt empty, and I felt the NFL rules hurt that game last night. It could have been even better if Patrick Mahomes had the ball in his hand one last time.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how, Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady at the end of that game in the fourth quarter, they went punch for punch. And then it's kind of like in hockey, one team got to do the shootout, but the other team didn't. Like, how does that work? Like, how does one team get to, drive the puck to the goalie without anybody stopping him and score goals, while the other team just doesn't get a chance? It just doesn't make sense. I get it. They want to keep the game short. They don't want to add injuries. But I'm all for college football style rules where you back it up. I don't like it that they started at the 25. Maybe you back it up to the 50. Back them out of field goal range, and each team gets a shot. I don't know if you want to do that, or if you just play an extended 10-minute quarter, and whatever the score is at the end of that 10-minute quarter is the end of the score. Maybe you do it that way. I don't know what the answer is, but you're right, man. I felt cheated out of entertainment. I felt cheated out of. It felt incomplete, but the rules are the rules, and the Patriots won the game. It just sucked not being able to see Patrick Mahomes one last time to see what he can do to drive his team. And like you said, maybe go for 2 and seal the game. Who knows? But it did. It felt cheated, but it felt like what that game felt like last night, Loudbeard.
What did it feel like?
As a big NBA fan, it felt like watching Michael Jordan play against Kobe Bryant, and at the very early onset, where Michael Jordan is still at the top of his game, winning championships, but you see Kobe go head-to-head with him, and he's hanging. His team loses, but he's hanging, and you see the bright future that's ahead, and it was kind of like a passing of the torch, I felt like. Kind of like when we watched Jordan play Kobe towards the end of Michael Jordan's career.
See, now I'm going to give you a different analogy here. This is what it felt like to me. It felt like it was, I'm going to say, John Jones versus Daniel Cormier.
Nothing like that.
And they fight for 5 rounds. We're going for rematch. Let's say in 6 months from now we see a John Jones-Daniel Cormier rematch. They go 5 rounds, and you're just sitting there, and it's a draw. So at the end they say, all right, these are the rules. John Jones, You get to punch Daniel Cormier straight in the face. If you knock him out, you win. If he stands back up, he gets a shot to punch you in the face. John Jones punches him in the face, knocks Cormier out, and Cormier never gets a shot to punch John Jones, and it's done. John Jones is the winner. And you like John Jones because you think he's the GOAT, and Tom Brady is the GOAT, and the Patriots got a chance to punch the Chiefs right in the face in overtime, and the Chiefs weren't able to get back up. And that's sad. I think the rules need to be changed. I think the rules need to be adjusted. And this is just maybe an opportunity for the competition committee in the offseason to reevaluate and make some improvements. We'd love to see some improvements. Hopefully they get enough feedback from fans where they can say, okay, this is a necessity. Maybe this game provoked that. And we see that every year. The NFL's good about identifying problems and seeing where there needs to be adjustments on the rules, and hopefully they make the proper adjustments this offseason and maybe make this a little bit more competitive, but we will see.
Yeah, I mean, it took them forever just to change it to where if you kick a field goal, it's not the end of the game, right? It took us however many years. It felt like forever. And then they finally made that adjustment. I was like, okay, I mean, that's a start, but it's still not good enough. Like, I don't get why we don't just make the right fix right away, but the NFL, like all other sports, is just slow moving to actually make real changes to their sport when fans demand it. And it is what it is. The Patriots and the Rams are playing in the Super Bowl, and I'm excited for it, Loudbeard. I think this is a good matchup. We talked about how we could have an old man Super Bowl or a young man Super Bowl, and we got both. We got the old guard versus the new guard again. We got Sean McVay, the next bright mind of NFL football. He's got a long way ahead of him. You know, he's got 35 to 40 years of a career left ahead of him against a guy who we never know when Bill Belichick's going to retire. He's in his late 60s. It could be this year after the Super Bowl. It could be 10 years from now. We have no idea when he's going to retire, but, you know, he's obviously been doing what he's been doing. And we could see another passing of the torch, or Tom Brady and Bill Belichick can say, not yet, NFL. We're not done with our legacy yet. You got to wait at least one more season. We're winning another Super Bowl.
Wow. Okay, I'm going to throw a scenario out at you. Let's say the Patriots win, and they're up there on the podium, and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick are both up there at the same time, and they say, New England, it's been a fantastic run. We love you. And Tom Brady says, I have an announcement. I'm going to go ahead and retire. And then he hands the microphone over to Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick says, Tom, it's been a great run, and I appreciate everything you've done, but it's my time also. I'm going to go ahead and retire at the top of the game. And if they both retired, what do you think that would feel like for a New England Patriots fan who just won the Super Bowl, but that point would be would be a changing or a turning point in that franchise forever if they both retired on the podium after a Super Bowl win? Would that be crazy?
It would be crazy, but I think if you're a Patriots fan, you gotta want it to happen that way. I mean, it's gonna happen eventually, right? These guys aren't gonna coach and play forever, so you need a retirement. It needs to come at some point in time. Why not in that moment? Why not in the moment where you just, especially with beating the Rams, this is the full circle of their legacy. Their legacy started off with beating the greatest show on turf with the St. Louis Rams back in 2001. And now you've come full circle. It's almost poetic to think about how we've come full circle with this, and they're going to complete their legacy by beating the Rams again, this time the LA version, the Jared Goff version instead of the Kurt Warner version, the Sean McVay version instead of, who was their quarterback, Dick Vermeil? Or
Their
was it Mike Martz?
It was Vermeil.
It was Vermeil, so instead of Dick Vermeil, it's Sean McVay. You know, it would be a great way to cap off their legacy, and I don't know, if you're a Patriots fan, it would be disappointing because you know that run is over and the future is questionable for the first time in 20 years. But you know what? It's got to end at some point, and it's no better way to end than that. I would just hope as a outside fan, Loudbeard, that Bill Belichick comes out of his shell and tells a few jokes and gets excited, pumps up the crowd. Like, I can't hear you. One more time. Let's go Patriots. Let's get ready to rock Atlanta. I'd love to see that from
That
Bill
would be
Belichick.
the best version of Bill Belichick we've ever seen.
It would be.
All right, we're close to the end of the show, but I have one question for you, Chris America. This can lead us out, so you can give me an answer and then send us home. Last night, the Scout Team Radio Twitter feed had a poll on there. What was the most annoying part of the broadcast with the Saints and Rams game? Was it the whistle man? Was it Joe Buck or Troy Aikman? What was the most annoying part of that broadcast to you, Chris America?
Well, so Loudbeard, I was at the in-laws. We were celebrating G-Maw's 90th birthday. Happy birthday, G-Maw. So I was in the room where the TV was on, but it was very low volume. So I could not hear this whistle man. I saw you all talking about it on Twitter. I saw the picture of some fake Sean Payton deal going on. I had no idea what that was all about. And I couldn't hear Joe Buck or Troy Aikman. So I went with just Troy Aikman on the poll because he always annoys me.
He always annoys me, too. I went with Troy Aikman also, and he lost the poll. Joe Buck.
He lost it by a lot,
Joe
too.
Buck, man.
Like,
by a
Joe
lot.
Buck
Everybody
won it.
hated Joe Buck. I don't understand.
Everybody. I don't understand the Joe Buck hate either. People hate him. He's not the best announcer in the world, but I've never understood why people don't like him. But Troy Aikman, I hate him just because he just sucks, and he's no Tony Romo. We didn't talk about this, but Tony Romo calling every single play means he either has the offensive coordinator's feed in his ear or he's a flippin' genius and needs to be a coach.
I love Tony Romo, and I've always hated Cowboys, and I hate Troy Aikman, but Tony Romo, he's the bomb.
He's been great, and we out.
Peace. I'm jumping the gun. This is for Canada. I'm just gonna keep going. Go ahead, Chris America.
No, hit it. There you go. For Canada, Loudbeard.
For Canada, we're just doing 3 different endings.
3 different endings. Hey, Tampa Bay Lightning and Tampa Bay Rays are in the same division of Toronto. I hope we create a good, fun, friendly rivalry with Toronto in those leagues.
It's gonna
Go
get
Bolts.
fun.
Go Rays.